sometimes people have what it takes, but they haven't recognized it yet. Just go forward. So what do you need to do? Welcome, everybody, and hello. This is Andrew Davis. Like you are, be that person that's different and it's bigger than you think. It's called Rise from the Ashes. That's why I like watching live. If you're watching on the recording, appreciate you being here. Like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. Now, today. So, yesterday, Monday night, and then yesterday as well. So I had a conversation with someone, and in that conversation, one of the things they asked me is, Andrew, so what is it that you do? What do you feel like you excel at? What do you feel like, if you were given the option, what are you good at? Where's your strength lie? And so I was able to answer that question for him. Thought about it for a second, but I kind of knew what it was. I know what I'm good at. Yesterday, working with the digital agency side, we're putting together a proposal for a rather large proposal, a business that has 30 plus locations around the country looking to do websites and marketing and overall strategy and kind of overarching, redoing websites, Google and Facebook, branding, and that market dominating position, all these other things. What can they put out digitally that would help them with their regular business? And so we're talking, and I'm putting together a short bio for myself because we're writing out, the about us, section of the principles at the company. And so I'm putting together a bio, but tweaking it so that it fits not just what I do, but also, what it would bring to an organization like this. My question for you is not so much from my resume perspective and writing out your resume, but from just a personal or business conversation. When was the last time you sat and you thought about not just what you do, but what your strengths are and how you would not sell yourself? I don't want you to think about it like that, but I want you to look at where your strengths are and the attention that you've given them. Now, as a child growing up, you hear a lot about making sure that you're well-balanced. You want to be a well-balanced adult. You want to learn all of these things. If you have weaknesses, you need to strengthen them. There are scriptures that talk about strengthening weaknesses. There's all sorts of different things, different ways of looking at it, right? And a lot of people come in and they go, well, I'm not good at this, and so I really need to learn X. Right. And then there's different ways of approaching that personal development angle. And it's, if you have your strengths, how do you treat them? If you have your weaknesses, how do you treat them? Are you strengthening those weaknesses at the cost of your strengths? Are you spending time outsourcing the weaknesses so that you can focus on the strengths? How are you wanting to build yourself? And the reality, guys, is that there is no right or wrong answer. Not 100% all encompassing. This is exactly how Cindy needs to do it. And this is how Rick needs to do it. And this is how Nike, right? Everybody's going to be a little bit different in the way that response should be ultimately, because we are each different, our individual lives and circumstances and everything else. And so how you approach that could vary. With that said, I wanted to talk today a little bit about your strengths. How you focus on them, the way that you look at them, and what you are doing in order to improve them. Because I will tell you, even if you are one of those individuals that feels like you need to spend a lot of time working on your strengths or working on your weaknesses, if you do it at the cost of taking care of the strengths that you have, then ultimately those strengths will no longer be strengths. They just kind of become mediocre, or you become, I'm good at that. I'm okay. That happens a lot as we get older. We go, well, I don't need to spend a lot of time on that because I'm already good at it, so I'm going to spend time on this. Is everybody still following me along? I've said strengths enough that I haven't completely lost you.
Right.
All right. So I want to talk a little bit about developing those strengths out. So here's the first question for you. And this is where participation would be helpful, guys. What is one way that you can take your core strengths and make them even stronger? Now, I'm going to give you 7 ways, but what do you think is one way that you can take your core strengths and make them even stronger? So either in the chat, raise your hand, and I'll bring you out. But what's some way that you can take your core strengths and make them stronger? Rick, go ahead.
Okay, so biggest way you could do that is keep practicing on a daily basis.
Yeah, use them regularly. So we get Camila
and I get lots of feedback from people that you know and trust.
Feedback. This is where setting your ego aside is going to be important, guys. It means you got to get over your own bullshit, because odds are you've told yourself that you're really good at something.
Yeah, I was on a podcast the other day, and I told him, I said, one of my questions he asked me, and I said, what answer is, one of the things you got to do as an entrepreneur, sometimes fire your own ego.
Yeah. Right. We don't want to. You guys remember the show American Idol? I know it's still out there, right? But how many people that, this is where it's important. So what Rick's talking about, getting feedback from someone who is going to be positive with you, but honest. Okay. Because you don't want feedback that tells you you're great at something and really you suck. Right. That's where the American Idol comes in. We've all seen people that go, oh, I'm a great singer. And then they grab the microphone and you're going, dear Lord. Hey, at least you enjoy it, right? We had a chance this morning. I was sitting, having some coffee with my fiance out on the patio, and we're listening and here in the condos. It's a beautiful area. We've got a fountain that's right out here, big, huge lake in the middle of the condo. And on the other side, we have someone that was just in their vibe singing Disney. Started with Little Mermaid, Part of Your World. It went into Moana. And I love the fact that she had the passion, enthusiasm. She was having a good time. Now, having a good time and being good at something are two different things. So no problem with her enjoying herself, but it's the same type of thing here, right? Like, what is your core strength? So it's understanding, getting constructive feedback, actually being able to do that versus, and then working on it. Okay. So let me see. Challenging myself and pushing out my limits consistently. And Chantal, that's absolutely important. That's one of the things I'm going to talk a little bit about, because there's practice and then there's challenging practice, right? A little bit different. So great job on the win, Catalina. I'll touch on that towards the end of the call. Kim, you have something, and then Craig.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, the strength that you're talking about, if you admire somebody or have a mentor or somebody that does it better than you, but the same type of thing, it's like, get feedback, study them. And it's like, okay, they even do it even better. How can I get even better?
Yep, absolutely. Puppet them, 100%. Parrot them, whatever the term is. So, parrot, not puppet. So paying attention to what they're doing and doing that, learning from mentors and things. What else? What are some other ways? How can you develop your core strengths? Anybody else? Craig, you had one? Craig's in the middle of rehabs here. Go for it.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great stuff. I think one of the first things is you've got to identify what your strengths are. And the feedback's very, very important to that, because you might think that you're really good at something, and you've only got your own sort of self-belief or your own ego or your own experience. But I used to be but now the languages have moved on so much that if I went back into programming now, I would be absolutely dreadful.
Right.
So it's staying current and knowing what you're good at.
Yeah, and so that's an important thing. So let me dive into some of the things that I have here. Okay, so number one, I'm going to give you guys this to you, but assess the subsets of the strength. So it's not just the strengths. It is here. Let me admit. Okay, it's understanding other elements of those core strengths. So to kind of what Craig said, and some of you guys have said, knowing what your strengths are. So go do some of those self-awareness, the personality, the character test. You have the Colby, you have the Myers-Briggs, there's a lot of different tests you can take. There's Strengths Finder 2.0 from the book. I've got it. You have the emotional intelligence, you have Strengths Finder. Both of those are from, oh, I can't remember. Anyway, I'll get you the name of the book, and if someone wants to do the quick search on it. But understand, do some of those exams to figure out who you are, where those strengths lie, then talk with a friend and get an idea of where you lie on that spectrum. Okay. And so this kind of goes, this example, actually, you may be an excellent programmer, but what are other areas of programming where you can improve that would improve the programming, right? A couple of core areas doesn't mean there's additional learning to do when it comes to market. And what I want to help you guys do is understand these strengths as well and how it can affect whatever business you're in. If it's the real estate investing or it's the digital marketing side, it's launching the partner program, it's your job at work, it's your relationship, strengthening your strengths ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, will simply help you in any aspect, anything that you're going after, because you become a better version of yourself. Next, find people to cover for the weaknesses. So this is a little bit different than the mentorship side. This is understanding your core competency. It's something that we talk about a lot. You hear it everywhere. What's your core competency as an individual? And then once you know that, once you've identified these skills, you can start to focus on the strengths, and then you can also identify others that can help you where you're weakest. Okay. It's not necessarily spending all of my time on things that I suck at. I want to develop my strengths. And if I can find other people to pick up the slack, then I'm going to do that. Next, get additional training. A lot of times you graduate from school and then you don't go back to it. You go, I'm good at that. I'm good at math. Well, if you're not continuously doing math, you lose a lot of it. Right? Any skill is like that. You know, a lot of you guys that are bilingual, trilingual, those languages that you're not continuously practicing, they go away. Right? I still consider myself fluent in Portuguese and Spanish, but I'm nowhere near as fluent as I was when I was speaking it every single day. Those skills go away. So if you want your strengths to stay strengths, take additional coursework, a mentor, training, do whatever you need to do. Okay. Now, let me see. Along with the training though, I don't know if I've got, yeah. Okay. I'm touching on that in a minute. All right. So identify strength enhancing opportunities. Now, this is, even though you have strengths, you can still improve them. Right. And that's one of those things to remember, right? Humility, getting rid of the ego, just like Rick said. You've got to get rid of that, because challenge is going to come. Things are going to happen. You've got to keep yourself learning consistently and knowing you're not the best ever at everything. You've got to continue to grow. Okay. So constantly challenge yourself to get better and look for those opportunities to sharpen your skills. Next, be open to change. This is going to change. You may be great at marketing. You may be great at programming. You may be great at real estate. You may be great at life coaching, at dance, at whatever. Things change. Businesses change. Your core strengths are going to shift and grow. The way your business is right now, the way your life is right now, isn't going to be the same in 5 to 10 years. You have to be willing to change and adapt and grow. Okay. Keep learning so you can keep growing. Keep an open mind as well. It boggles my mind when people come in and they go, well, I've been in marketing and sales for 20 years. I don't need this, or I don't need this help or this strategy. And I go, but this is different, right? Like in this world, it's different now than when I was in it. You know, when I started 8-9 years ago, it's different now than just a couple of years ago. But if you continue to develop those strengths, you'll still remain relevant. Your strengths will remain relevant. And that's what's important, is continue to do that. Now, when we talk about practicing, this is one of the last ones I wanted to give you. Be deliberate, be intentional in your practice. It's not just quantity, guys. It's the quality. It truly is the quality of the time and effort that you spend trying to learn something or adapt or grow or get with a mentor, putting in the effort. The quality is paramount. So sitting down and just kind of like, oh yeah, I spent 30 minutes on it last night. I can't tell you how many people waste time on that shit when they're not putting real effort into it. It goes to what I think it was Chantel wrote up there earlier, is challenging. if you're not challenging the skills, then it's not going to grow. It's like weight training. It's like walking. Walking is always going to be good for your heart. But when you start any exercise routine, and let's say you're not physically active at all, and you begin to get out there, as you begin to walk, you'll lose weight. Your heart and lungs will feel better. You'll get more energy. Over time, your body's going to adapt, and you need to challenge it. You need to push it more. You need to walk faster. You need to walk farther. You need to add in, different stops. Or you're going to do push-ups. You can do other things. You've got to change your approach. Your mind works the same way. It's not just sitting down and doing things. You've got to push beyond that. Chantel, do you have a comment? You got a hand up? Or are we just raising our hands? Raise the roof? Yes? No? Okay. So.
Yeah, I was just wondering, can you hear me?
Yep. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to maybe bring up the what's the opposite of strength? Oh my God.
Weakness?
Yes. I would like to, maybe at the end, I would like to bring up a different kind of perspective on that.
Okay. Go for it.
Possible? Right now?
Yeah. We can chat about it.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Start video. Here we go. Okay. So I've been really working on the idea that maybe that's why I couldn't remember the words, because I don't believe we have, this is going to be like, I know, probably reaction provoking, but I don't believe we have weaknesses. I believe when we are fearful, we have parts of us that are reacting out of fear, and they're trying to protect us. Are they weaknesses? No. If I'm not particularly skilled at math, it's not a weakness. It's just I'm not naturally inclined to math. And it takes away a lot of the self-deprecating, hitting ourselves over the head for stuff. And it's like, because we've learned the word failure and weaknesses, but they're not. It's like I taught high school kids, and I used to tell them, okay, so you're not skilled at math. So what? You're a phenomenal mechanic.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with a weakness of yours. It has to do with not having the skill, and you're not naturally inclined.
Sure.
And that's okay. You do your best and you move on. Because a lot of the kids I worked with had learning difficulties. So they spent a lifetime in school,
right,
not doing well, thinking they were retarded. That's what they would tell me. Broken and needed to be fixed.
And so weakness, I think I agree with what you're saying. I think it just kind of turns into a matter of semantics and how you want to look at things. If you strengths and weaknesses.
Well, how we look at things does determine how we feel, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Strengths and weaknesses it's just the most common vernacular. And so that's kind of where that comes from. But, when I look at things, I just look at, and I agree with you. When I look at some of those things that I'm just not as good at, I look at it and go, well, that's not a strength. And so is that something I want to turn into a strength, or is it simply a skill that I want to outsource, or I want to have somebody else handle for me?
Yeah.
Right. And so guys, you can absolutely look at it like there are skills across the board. And so that's one of the questions that I have when I'm working with you guys in the strategy session, like what skill or skills are most important for you to what you're wanting to accomplish, right? Because you may prioritize one skill and say, this is something that I feel like I really need to learn. And then if you're honest, you go, well, do I need to learn that? Or is it simply something I can have somebody else do, or a different focus that I can have that will compensate over here and allow you to build up the skill set that that will guide you into your biggest strength, right? Or how do I take the strength and leverage it in the best possible way with what I'm currently on in the pathway that I'm on? So don't look at it as something that, you suck at, or that it's a weakness. Just say, hey, it's a skill I haven't developed yet. and either you're willing to develop it or you're going to find somebody else that can handle it. There are certain things, and this goes to, if you guys go back, and maybe we'll do the training again here soon, but I the way I have like when I think about success, I feel like it's an equation. There's an equation to success, right? This is my perspective. And there's certain things that have to happen in order to achieve success. Now, you define success in this scenario, however you define it. But however you want to define it, there are certain things that have to happen in order for that to come to pass, right? Time, effort, skill, maybe money is involved, maybe it's not, maybe it's, a group of individuals, maybe it's not, maybe it's the right system. It just depends on how you want to define success. Now, as I'm looking at this full equation, let me see if I can find the slides to this and I can show you guys. Does anybody remember me doing this training? Or is this beneficial at all? Let me pull up the equation here. So my full equation here, all sorts of different pieces, and there's consistency, and then there's certain constants, and then there's variables. Okay, this is a lot more complicated than some others that you can find online. Time, effort, expertise, investment, passion, and focus. And then you have to subtract out the resistance and distractions, right? So those could be exterior, those could be personal, right? There's always some type of resistance and distractions. Everybody has them. It's just, is it something that you've created? Is it something that outside has created? And then we look at opportunity. What is the opportunity? The timing of the market, of your life, of whatever. What's the vehicle that you're using to achieve it? How quality is it that you're putting out there? What is the level of quality? And then do you have a team that's helping you? So, because look at it. Some people go, well, I don't have a team. Okay, well, then that's a zero right there, right? Or I don't have the money for investment cash wise. Okay, well, then I need to raise my expertise, or I need to raise my effort, or it's going to take me longer. If I've got the investment and I can pay for someone else's expertise and I'm passionate about it, and there's enough of that it's going to overcome all the resistance and distractions, then I can find a way to get towards my success, right? So some of you guys might be writing this down. I'll give you I'll drop the slides into the Skype group so you've got it, and then you just kind of scroll down. So again, this is my equation for success. Okay, these elements are variables, meaning there is no hard and fast number. I can't tell you, hey, it takes this much passion. Because even if I'm not as passionate about it, if I'm willing to throw enough money and get enough experts at it, and I'm willing to wait on it, you can get some results, right? Look at big business investors, right? There's enough expertise and investment dollars that are put into something where even if they're not super passionate about it, they can create massive results because they're leveraging, because they've got the right team and all of these other things, right? So this is why there's all these different pieces. You've got to look at it. Now, the expertise, this is where we can kind of talk about strengths, skills versus skills we don't have, et cetera, right? And it's a part of the equation for success. So how do I look at it? Now, I totally agree with what you were saying, Chantel. Like if I treat things and I look at it strictly in a strength and weakness, and I go, well, I don't have any of those strengths, so all I have are these weaknesses. Well, then that's going to create more resistance, more distractions, right? It's going to cause you to focus on things that shouldn't be focused on, and it will derail you in your attempt to achieve success. So yeah, all of that stuff's important. Okay, there's other, and like I said, I'm going to give you these slides because there's other equations that other people have come up with that have put out there, and I'll give you these, so you've got them. This is the one that I put together, and it's just kind of, it's grown over the years. Before I was like time, effort, skills and investment. It was like that. And however that equals out equals success. And I've learned over time that, directed passion and a willingness to overcome resistance and distractions will help you find the investment or help you develop the expertise, right? Timing is important. So I had a friend that runs a business and doing some affiliate stuff, JV things with him. And he was talking about when you talk about opportunity. So he was paid back in the early 2012, 2013, somewhere in there. Somebody paid him for some legal services. They paid 4,000 Bitcoin at the time for the legal services. Yeah. He sold it about 2 years later for $5 a Bitcoin. Now it'd be worth, a couple of $1 million. But, opportunity, timing, everything else, life is going to come at you. So these skill sets that you have, are you willing to develop them out and create additional strengths and stack those strengths? Find somebody else to handle those things that may not have developed into skills that you can fully utilize right now, right? You've got to look at yourself and figure out how the best way to approach it. I think one of the biggest obstacles that people have with this business, with any business, is we take those skills that we haven't yet developed, and you can call them a weakness. You can call it ignorance. You can call it just a skill I don't have yet, whatever you want to call it, guys. I think sometimes we spend so much time on those that we don't leverage the skills that we have because all of these skills that you guys have will work with what you do here. Okay. They can generate results. You just got to find a way to fill in those other gaps. Are you living up to your potential? Do you even recognize what your potential is? Have you sat back because in high school or college or the beginning of your career, you were great at something, and so you just didn't continue to develop it because, hey, I'm already good at this. I don't have to worry about that. That's my skill. And you sit down now and you go, holy crap, that ain't me anymore, cowboy, right? You got to figure out what you're good at and develop those strengths out even more. So I'll give you guys both of those slides, right? The whole success training, there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. On that, it'll have the equations. You just need to scroll down to find the one that I did, but some of the other equations may work, or you may sit down and kind of think of your own. But if you're going to create your own success equation, I will tell you, don't eliminate things because you're just like, oh, that's not necessary, right? It may mean you're not looking big picture, right? So anyway, I'll give you guys both of those. Think about your strengths, what you need to do to continue to develop those, and fully assess yourselves, okay? Find a way to build your strengths, go out and be amazing. And quick comment here. So Nancy's been asked to be a presenter at a conference in May. There you go. You've spent a lifetime learning. Nancy, that last comment there, I'm coming to terms with how much I've lost, but it's coming back. Share that in that kind of presentation. There's that old joke they always talk about, like Nancy's forgotten more about dance than any of us will ever know, kind of thing. Talk about that. Things have changed so much and you've learned so much, and now you're relearning things, and how important it is to continue to develop yourself through dance, through growth, through study, whatever. Never stop learning, right? You have a comment, Nancy?
I do. So much of that depends on what I've learned from you. Thank you.
Well,
I made great strides again last night. I'm meeting my goals. It's so exciting.
Good. And celebrate all of those little things. Honestly, guys, how amazing is that? She's being asked to present after a lifetime of success in that realm. She's relearning things and doing it in a positive way instead of beating herself up about it. All of you guys, it's all in your hands. And Chantel, absolutely, I 100% agree. And that's why with what I have here, with my equation on success, that's the most important part. It's your definition of that moment, that goal, whatever. None of the rest of this equation means anything unless you understand how you want to define success. The equation doesn't mean anything until you decide what it is you're trying to achieve. Because, Chantel's definition is going to be different than winning. Nancy's is going to be different than Bruce. All of you guys will be different than mine. And the reality is that this definition will change over time. You'll have different projects, and you should define success for that project. You should have different ventures, relationships throughout your life. that definition of success will continue to change. And that's what you need to pay attention to. On that note, I will let you guys go. I'm going to provide the links to both sets of slides. Take some time, think about your strengths, what you need to do. If you haven't yet, go do one of those. The strengths
Sometimes
finder
people
test.
have what it takes, but they haven't recognized it yet.
But
Just
go out,
go
have an amazing
forward.
day. I will
So what do you
talk
need to
you guys
do?
later.
How do you stand out? So what you need to do is be that person that's different and is bigger than you think.
Thanks,
Rise from the
everyone,
ashes and fly like the phoenixes
for
that
all
you are.
that you contribute to my life.